It took half the year, but I finally finished another book on my physical TBR. I started Wuthering Heights back in January before the movie came out, decided I was not going to go see the movie, and put the book aside indefinitely. But I've been holding this one since probably around high school, and the reason that I didn't read it back then is because it's Bella Swan's favorite book. And I assumed that if it's Bella Swan's favorite book, one, it was probably a very sappy, over the top romance, and two, I was probably not gonna like it. Turns out I was pretty much wrong on all accounts. The way people talk about this book, and it's so many people's favorite book, I thought it was gonna be this epic, tragic love story with grand professions of devotion and long, cold, foggy walks along the moors. And then around the time the movie was coming out, people were saying, no, 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 this book is straight gossip. It is a frame narrative of an employee of the Central families telling the story to a renter, and you have to get through a lot of like boring renter stuff before you actually get to the meat of the story. So that was why I sort of put it to the side. Once I got into it though, oh my god, this is a story about terrible, despicable people doing absolutely horrible things. And I realized something. This is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, to a T. There are scenes where people are pulling out knives and threatening to end everyone in the room, including themselves. There's a scene where a baby gets dropped over a banister and like accidentally caught by someone who actually wants the baby dead anyway. There are some of the nastiest insults I've ever read. I wasn't expecting the word slut so much in a book that has been canonized as one of the great works of Western fiction. I do think that it's a little bit hard to read, not only for the reason that I just mentioned, but because Emily Bronte takes a lot of liberties with punctuation. You're usually reading the story from Ellen the Maid's point of view, but then every once in a while it will switch, and then you suddenly have to ask yourself, wait, who's talking? Whose opinions am I getting right now? And Joseph, the groundskeeper, speaks in a remarkably thick dialogue that is written into the text. It is near unreadable in parts, so while I do think that anybody could pick it up and eventually find their way into the story, I didn't find it quite as readable as something like Jane Eyre or Emma or Dracula. Stay tuned for more Dracula daily updates. And while I can respect that this is a very cool book historically, Bronte does some pretty interesting things with biased narration. And while she wasn't the first person to write a narrative about an outsider, I do think that Heathcliff's story is very important, especially because it's so often misrepresented on screen. I don't think I would go out of my way to read this one again.